Welcome back to our channel, where we explore the untold stories behind the lives of beloved stars. Today, we bring you an emotional and heartbreaking journey involving little people, big world stars Tori Roloff and Tori Roloff. In the world of reality television, few families have touched hearts like the Roloffs. From the wide fields of their Oregon farm to the quiet moments inside their home, the show gave viewers a close look at love, struggle, and strength. To fans, their lives seemed full of warmth and stability. But behind the cameras, far from what viewers saw on TV, a storm was slowly building. What started as quiet whispers of financial trouble soon grew into a scandal that shook the Roloff family to its core. Tori Roloff, loved by fans for her kindness and devotion, was hiding a painful secret, one that not even her husband Zach knew. She was drowning in debt. A massive $250,000 debt hidden from her family and the world. For over a year, Tori was secretly involved in a romantic relationship with a banker named David. What began as a private connection slowly turned into a deep emotional bond. When David learned about Tori's financial struggles, he promised to take full responsibility for paying off her $250,000 debt. From that moment, their relationship grew stronger. They began spending time together at luxury hotels, sharing moments that revealed just how serious their relationship had become. Not long after, Tori discovered she was pregnant. Medical tests later confirmed that the baby she was carrying was David's. When Zach learned the truth, the betrayal hit him hard. He suffered deep emotional pain. Arguments filled their home, and tension grew unbearable. Eventually, the marriage fell apart, and Tori chose to divorce Zach. She made her intentions clear. She wanted to be with David. Their children begged her to stay. They cried, asking their mother not to leave them. All they wanted was for her to remain by their side. But Tori ignored their pleas. Holding David's hand, she walked away from the life she once built. The betrayal pushed Zach into a dark place. Unable to cope with the pain, he attempted suicide. Later, he accused Tori of taking $195,000 from his savings and giving it to David. The case went to court. After a long trial, the court ruled that Zach's claims were true. Tori was sentenced to 5 months in prison. This story is not just drama. It is a collision of love, trust, and betrayal. Before everything fell apart, Zach and Tori were seen as the perfect couple. Fans admired their bond on Little People, Big World. Zach's quiet strength balanced Tori's warmth and nurturing nature. Together, they built a life that looked unbreakable. Their home was filled with laughter, bedtime stories, and family dinners. On social media, Tori often shared moments of their life. Zach teaching the kids to ride bikes, family trips to the farm, and peaceful nights by the fireplace. To the outside world, they were the picture of happiness. Even during difficult times, they seemed united. But beneath the smiles, cracks were forming. Tori was carrying a heavy secret. Her financial problems had grown quietly over time. Loans, credit cards, and failed investments slowly piled up until the debt reached $250,000. Every day, she smiled for the cameras. Every night, she lay awake, consumed by fear. She was terrified of disappointing Zach. So she stayed silent, hoping the problem would somehow disappear. Zach trusted her completely. He never questioned her handling of finances. To him, their marriage was strong, and their future was secure. He had no idea his wife was living a double life. The pressure changed Tori. She avoided money conversations, hid her anxiety behind forced smiles, and built walls around her emotions. The perfect family image was falling apart, but only she could see it. Then came the moment that changed everything. Another letter arrived demanding payment. She realized she couldn't handle the debt alone. But she couldn't turn to Zach. The shame felt too heavy. She needed help from someone outside her family. That desperation led her to David. David was confident, calm, and reassuring. When Tori went to the bank seeking advice, he listened without judgment. He told her she didn't have to face everything alone. Those words stayed with her. At first, their meetings were professional. But soon, Conversations drifted beyond finances. They talked about fears, regrets, and dreams. David saw Tori not just as a wife or mother, but as a woman who needed understanding. Slowly, boundaries faded. A look lingered too long. A touch lasted a moment more than it should. What started as financial help became emotional attachment. And emotional attachment turned into romance. The debt that once felt like numbers on paper became the chain that pulled her away from her family. David felt like freedom. What began as desperation ended in destruction. This secret, once buried deep, became the force that unraveled everything. Tori knew she was crossing a line, but the pull was impossible to resist. David offered her something Zach never could: escape. He spoke in calm reassurances, promised solutions, and painted pictures of a life free from debt and secrets. With every meeting, she was drawn deeper into his world, until thoughts of him followed her everywhere. The affair did not explode all at once. It slowly burned, growing stronger with each encounter. Tori told herself it was harmless, that she was only seeking help. But deep inside, she knew the truth. David was no longer just a banker. He was a stranger who entered her life at her weakest moment, and soon, he would become the man who changed everything. As Tori's visits to the bank became more frequent, her connection with David deepened. What began as financial advice turned into quiet conversations, lingering looks, and subtle touches filled with meaning. David became her confidant, her secret companion, the one person who truly understood the weight she carried. One evening after business hours, Tori sat across from David in his office. The lights were dim, and the world outside was silent. For the first time, she spoke without holding back. She confessed everything, the full truth. The crushing $250,000 debt she had hidden from Zach and everyone else. Her voice shook, and her eyes filled with shame. She expected judgment. Instead, David leaned forward and spoke calmly. "You don't have to face this alone. I'll take care of it." Those words felt like a lifeline. Tori could hardly believe them. David assured her he had the resources and the power to make the debt disappear. He spoke of financial plans, payments, and ways to protect her from consequences. But beneath the practical promises was something deeper: desire. He wanted her, and this promise tied her to him. For years, Tori had carried her burden alone, smiling through the pain. Now, someone was offering not just relief from debt, but relief from silence. Gratitude slowly turned into affection, and affection into something dangerous. She began to see David not only as her rescuer, but as her future. Their meetings became more intimate. They no longer stayed within the walls of the bank. They met in quiet restaurants, hidden hotel lounges, and eventually five-star hotel suites where no one could see them. Every moment was secret. Every promise whispered in the dark. David repeated the same words again and again. "I'll protect you. I'll take care of everything." And each time, Tori believed him more. But promises made in darkness cast long shadows. While David gave her hope, he also bound her to a path she could not easily leave. She was no longer tied to him by love alone, but by dependence. She told herself it was love, but deep down she knew it was also survival. The perfect family life she once cherished was slipping away, replaced by a dangerous new reality. The storm was no longer approaching. It had already arrived. Their relationship soon moved into a world of luxury. Five-star hotels, candlelit dinners, and nights hidden away from reality. For Tori, every encounter felt like stepping into another life, far from the farm, the cameras, and the responsibilities of motherhood. In David's arms, she felt free, alive, and unburdened. David spared no expense. He booked expensive suites, ordered champagne, and surrounded her with comfort and excess. To him, it was proof of devotion. To Tori, it was irresistible. Each stay reminded her that she was no longer trapped by debt or secrecy. She was living a fantasy, but luxury brought danger. Every meeting required caution. Every detail had to remain hidden. Tori feared being recognized, feared someone discovering the truth. She chose distant locations and trusted David's discretion. Yet the secrecy only made the bond stronger. The more they hid, the deeper they fell. Inside those hotel rooms, Tori pushed away thoughts of her children, Zach's quiet loyalty, and the life she once loved. She convinced herself this was love, that David was her future, that the sacrifices were worth it. Guilt lingered, but she buried it beneath desire and denial. David was equally consumed. He spoke of marriage, of a future together, of building a life without secrets. But walls could not hide the truth forever. Then came the moment that changed everything. Tori discovered she was pregnant. At first, the signs were small: fatigue, changes in her body. She blamed stress and exhaustion. But as the days passed, the truth became impossible to ignore. Sitting in a quiet clinic room, her heart pounded as she waited for the results. The doctor confirmed it. She was pregnant. But the shock didn't end there. Tests revealed what Tori already feared. The child was not Zach's. DNA confirmed it. The baby belonged to David. The truth hit her like a wave. She struggled to breathe, unable to fully process what was happening. This was no longer just an affair. A new life was growing inside her. A truth that could never stay hidden. Fear, guilt, and hope collided within her. She thought of Zach, of their children, of the family they built. She imagined the pain this would cause. Yet she also felt something else. A sense of destiny. David had promised her a future, and now that future felt unavoidable. When she told David, he didn't hesitate. He held her and spoke of marriage, of raising the child together, of starting over. His confidence gave her strength, but it also deepened her conflict. She knew what waited at home: the heartbreak, the tears, the confusion of her children. The pregnancy was the turning point, the perfect family image shattered. The truth was now written in DNA. Tori stood at the edge of a decision that would define her forever. Stay with Zach and the life she built, or walk away into David's arms, carrying his child as proof of their forbidden love. For Zach Roloff, family meant everything. He believed in loyalty and trust. To him, his marriage was strong enough to survive anything. But the day he learned the truth, his world collapsed. It began with small doubts. Tori's absences. Her vague answers. The distance in her eyes. Zach tried to ignore it, telling himself she was stressed. But the truth always finds its way to the surface. When Zach learned about the pregnancy, the cracks in his life became unbearable. At first, he felt joy, then confusion, and finally, devastating truth. First, Zach felt a flicker of hope. He wanted to believe that this was just another one of life's confusions, a mistake in timing, something that could be explained away. But deep down, he knew the truth was far worse than anything he had imagined. The tension between them, the secrecy, the growing distance in Tori's eyes, it all pointed to something he could no longer ignore. He confronted her gently at first, hoping for reassurance. But Tori's responses were careful, measured, and evasive. Her eyes avoided his. Her words danced around the truth. Each time he pressed, her fear and hesitation grew. He could sense she was hiding something monumental, yet she refused to reveal it. Every instinct in Zach screamed that his world was about to change forever. Finally, the truth came crashing down. Tori could no longer hide the pregnancy. She admitted it was David's child. The room seemed to spin. Zach's mind struggled to make sense of what he was hearing. All the memories of their life together, their first date, their wedding, the birth of their children, flashed through him. Could all of that trust and love vanish in an instant? Apparently it could. The weight of betrayal hit Zach like a physical blow. He felt hollow, as if the life he had built, the foundation he had trusted, had been pulled from under him. Questions swirled endlessly in his mind. Why? How long? Could she have loved him at all during this time? Each thought was like a hammer pounding at his heart. Their arguments began almost immediately. Words were thrown in anger and desperation. Tori tried to explain herself, to justify her choices, to convince him that David had offered her a lifeline when she felt trapped. But Zach couldn't hear her. Every sentence she spoke felt like salt on a wound. His heartbreak was raw and unrelenting. Every tear he shed was a mix of anger, disbelief, and sorrow. The children sensed the tension immediately. The home that had once been filled with laughter and joy was now heavy with silence and conflict. Their innocent questions: why is Mommy sad? Why is Daddy yelling? Cut Zach deeper than any adult confrontation could. He wanted to shelter them from the truth, to protect them from the storm that had entered their lives, but he also couldn't shield himself from the pain. As the weeks passed, the conflict only intensified. Zach felt betrayed on multiple levels, not just by Tori's affair, but by the fact that she had hidden a debt of $250,000 from him, a debt that had grown silently behind closed doors. He struggled to understand how someone he loved so deeply could keep such a monumental secret. The foundation of trust that had held their marriage together seemed irreparably shattered. In his despair, Zach reached a breaking point. One night, overwhelmed by hopelessness and sorrow, he contemplated ending his own life. The weight of betrayal, the fear of losing his family, and the hopelessness of the situation all pressed down on him. It was a dark, desperate moment. Fortunately, Zach survived, but the incident left a lasting scar on both his body and his spirit. Afterward, Zach decided to take legal action. He accused Tori of taking $195,000 from his savings and giving it to David. The accusations were shocking, yet they reflected the depth of his desperation. He had been betrayed emotionally, financially, and morally, and he wanted justice. The case moved to court, and the hearings were long and emotionally draining. Both parties had to recount painful memories, confront their actions, and face the consequences of years of secrecy. During the trial, evidence emerged that confirmed Zach's allegations. The court found that Tori had indeed transferred significant amounts of money to David, using it to pay for hotels, luxurious trips, and other expenses connected to their affair. The revelation was devastating, not just for Zach, but for the public who had once admired the couple as a model family. The media followed the story closely, sensationalizing the betrayal and broadcasting it for millions to witness. Tori was sentenced to 5 months in prison. The verdict left a permanent mark on the family. Zach was left to pick up the pieces of his life while also caring for their children, who were now dealing with the emotional trauma of their mother's absence and the knowledge of her betrayal. The family dynamic was fractured. Every holiday, every family event, and every quiet moment in their home carried the echoes of what had happened. Despite the pain, Zach began the long process of rebuilding. He threw himself into his work, focused on his children, and tried to create stability amidst chaos. Every smile from his kids, every hug, every shared laugh became a reminder of what he still had: love, loyalty, and the responsibility to keep their family grounded. It was not easy, but step by step, he learned to navigate life without the partner he had trusted most. Tori's time in prison was also transformative, though not in ways she might have expected. The isolation forced her to reflect on her choices, the lies she had told, and the consequences they had brought. She faced judgment from society, from her family, and, most importantly, from herself. The reality she had once sought through David, freedom from debt, a luxurious escape, a new love, was now replaced by cold walls and the harsh weight of accountability. Throughout this period, the children struggled with divided feelings. They missed their mother, yet they also knew the truth of what had happened. Counseling and support became crucial, helping them understand that while people make mistakes, those mistakes do not define the love parents have for their children. Zach became the anchor, constantly reassuring them that, despite the betrayal, they were still safe, loved, and cared for. Public perception of the Roloff family changed dramatically. Fans who had followed their journey on Little People, Big World were shocked. The image of the happy, loving couple was replaced by a story of deception, heartbreak, and scandal. Social media was filled with speculation, criticism, and debate over who was at fault and what should happen next. Yet behind the public scrutiny, the family had to confront the personal reality. the bonds of trust were broken, and nothing would ever be the same. Even after Tori's release, tensions remained. She returned to a world